Welcome back. In this series, we are going to learn how we retrieve data from the database. To retrieve data from the database, we use the select keyword. Remember, we said data is stored in database tables. And to get this data out of the tables, in SQL we use the select keyword when we want to get information out of the database. Bring it nearer to our real-life scenarios. All the information we receive via Facebook, Twitter, that new feed that comes, the new messages that keep on coming in our inboxes, they are got out of the select. Whenever we need to read any information from the database, we use the select keyword. To use the select keyword, we must know which table are we really targeting to get this information from. We need to know the name of the table and the columns in that table. For example, I may have a table, the employees table. This employees table could be with the first name and the last name as columns. If I need to get information out of this table, I need to specify the name of that table, which is the employees table, and I also need to specify the columns. Which kind of columns do I need? When you look at the syntax here, you can easily see that it is select. We say the word select, we write the keyword select, followed by the column name. This column name could be one or two or many columns, or all the columns in the table. Then we follow this with the from keyword, and then later we bring in the table name. So the entire syntax is select any column from a given table. Table names and column names must be correct. To specify the column names, and that means we need to confirm the table name before we begin working. To check for the table name, we use the tab view in Oracle. We don't need to worry about views right now. We shall look at them later in the session. So to check for the column names, we use the describe keyword. We are going to see all these in action. You need to go to all your programs. You can scroll below and look through all the programs installed. You can check for your Oracle database folder, and then you check for the Oracle SQL command line. When you launch it, you'll be able to see this command line. Remember, we said to connect to the database, we need to use the connect keyword. So we are connecting using the HR account, and my password is HR. Then I terminate, or I put a semicolon. This is the termination. It tells Oracle that this is the end of the statement. So when I run this, I get connected. Oracle gives us a list of tables. To check for those tables, we say that we have the tab view that keeps track of all the tables in the database. We begin with the select. Put a star. A star means all columns. Return everything. A star, whenever we see it in Oracle, it means return everything. Give us everything. So the first statement is select star from tab. The purpose of this statement is to show us all the tables available, because we don't know which tables are available to us. So we are starting with select keyword, and we are saying return everything. Everything means all the columns in this particular table called tab. Press enter. We can see a list of all the tables we have. This is the list of all the tables we have in our database. You don't need to worry that you don't have some of the tables for now. The area of concern should be you have some output. You should be able to see the departments table. You should be able to see the employees table, the emp details view. Then you should be able to see the job history table, the jobs table, the locations, and the regions. The rest of the tables are just my personal tables. We can easily see which table we can pick information from. For example, we need to get all the records in the regions table. What we do, we just select. If I need everything, I use a star. Star means return all the columns. A star stands for all the columns. From the table, this time I need from regions, which is here. So when I run, you can see all the regions. I can also check for another table. The statement simply means return all the columns in the table called departments. And when I run, all these are the records in the table called departments. Sometimes I don't want to return everything. The star means everything. I don't want to return everything. I don't want to return all the columns in a particular table. For example, we have a table called employees. When you select star from tab, you can see that we have a table called employees. I need to see columns in this table called employees. How do I check for columns in a particular table? I can just describe. I can use the describe keyword followed by the table name. So I can easily say that describe the table called employees, which is the one here. So when I run this, it returns all the columns in this table. So we use the describe keyword whenever we need to know which columns are there, because we said the table name and the column name must be exactly as they were written when we are creating these tables. If I need to get just the first name and the last name of the employees, I'll just say select first underscore name, because it is first underscore name, and we put a comma to bring in the second column, which is last name. We can put as many columns as we want. I may need also to know the salary this person earns. So we put commas every after a column. We say select first name, comma, last name, comma, and then salary. Then after the last column, we follow this with a from keyword from a particular table called employees. So what I want to do is I need to get the first name, last name, and salary of every record in the employees table. When I run this, you can see the list of all the employees. So these are the records we have in this table called employees. You can see all the names and the salary. You'll also be interested in taking a look at the jobs available in this company. To do that, I can use the jobs table. When I select star from tab, I can see that there is a table called jobs. I can use this table to get all the information, but I don't know the columns there. So I can just describe the table jobs. I can have the job title and the job ID, the maximum salary and the min salary. I can easily check for this, all the jobs available, and just select job ID, then put a comma, job title, jobs. When I run this, you can see all the jobs available in this company. I may be interested in the stock clerk. That is how we select information from the database. We use the select clause followed by the column we want, and then followed by the from, and lastly the table name. This should be the syntax, and you should never forget it. You may have realized that sometimes we don't want the job headings. These are column headings. Job ID. What if I don't want it to be called the job ID? Job title. What if I don't want it to be called the job title in my heading? What if I need to change this heading to job position or something else? What do I do? Sometimes when we are creating tables, we give them names, but these names may mean nothing to the people who are reading the report. For example, if you put min salary or max salary, to you as a developer, it could be easy for you to distinguish that this is the highest salary, this is the minimum salary. But to somebody else, it may not be. Maybe our boss needs to have the maximum salary to be called the highest salary, and this one the lowest salary. Let's first return everything. You can see that this is a beautiful report, but we need to have this at the lowest salary, and this one the highest salary, and this one job position, so that our report comes out when it is so meaningful. How do we do that? We can do that using what we call the column alias. Alias help us to change the column headings for specific columns in the output. The column alias doesn't mean that we are changing the name of the column in the database. No, it simply changes the output of the heading for a specific column. To use column alias, we use the as keyword. The as keyword is just placed after the column, our column of interest. For example, if you want to change the max salary to highest salary, once we finish with the max salary in our select clause, we follow that with the as keyword. Then what follows the as is what we need to rename that column. Column alias must be wrapped in double quotes if it is more than one word, and it should be also wrapped in double quotes if we need to maintain some letter casing. We are going to see all this in action. For example, in our case, we need to change this from job title to job position. This column should be highest salary, and this one lowest salary. To achieve that, we are going to rewrite our command. I'm going to say select. You may also include the job title, the job ID. Then we have the job title. Then we put as. We need to change the job title from job title to job position. So we change this. After the column name, the column we need to change, we follow this with the as, and then we put as job position. What you haven't realized is columns must never have a space. That is why we see that we are having job ID, job title, they are all joined with an underscore. So this will be invalid if we insist on using it. To prove you that, we can stop here and we try to run it. You can see we get an error. It means that SQL stopped reading this statement after the keyword job. It looked at this as a new name for this column, and it doesn't understand this because columns are separated with commas. So this is something invalid. If we want to use job position as our column alias, we should wrap it in double quotes, or we should join it as one word. To do that, we can just go back and we change double quotes, and we wrap this is in quotes as job position on jobs. So you can see that this one is no longer job title like it was before. It is now job position, and it is really clearly explaining what this is all about. You can add on other columns by putting a comma after the column alias. We also wanted the max salary. We need it to be called highest salary. When you run this, you can see that it is now highest salary. Okay. You can also keep on adding and adding and adding. Watch this. I don't have the as keyword, but it has worked again. with the highest salary. How comes? The as keyword is optional. It doesn't have to be there for it to work. So the as keyword is optional. Just like the double quotes are optional once we have one word at the column alias. If we have one word as our column alias, then there is no need for us to put the double quotes. For example, if I want to call this highest, although it doesn't make any sense, but just for the example, you can see that it is highest. It has worked even if I don't have the double quotes available. But once I have two words as column alias, I should wrap them in double quotes. Another thing you should notice about column alias is this: if I don't put double quotes around the column alias, it is returned as uppercase. If I want to maintain my letter casing, I need to put this in double quotes. So when I run this, you can see that after putting it in double quotes, it has been maintained. So we use double quotes in column alias. We want to maintain the letter casing, as well as if the column alias is having more than one word. That is when we use the double quotes. In the next section, we're going to look at how do we sort this information after retrieving it.